So one of the most difficult things to get over when you are deconstructing from Christianity is your fear of hell. If there is anything that keeps a person still trapped in Christianity, it is the idea of hell existing and your afterlife possibly ending up in hell. Of course, this is what we hear from many Christian distractors who will come onto the page and announce to the world over and over again that you'll find out later when you go to hell. So in this video, I want to give you the basic instructions that are needed in order to begin that journey of getting over your fear of hell. So one of the first things that we have to understand is that the fear of hell is both intellectual and emotional. And because you've been indoctrinated into this fear, we have to work to get past both the intellectual and the emotional states of hell. Now, information in itself is not going to be enough, but I'm going to teach you how to also get your emotions to a point where you no longer have this fear. So first we start with the intellectual. The intellectual aspect of understanding hell, now that you've walked away from this religion, is the fact that your belief in this God was predicated on you loving this God, worshiping this God, and avoiding going to hell. And that this God has an opposite, which is called the devil for most people, and recognizing that the Bible that you were taught does not actually speak of a hell. It speaks of Sheol. Sheol is the Jewish death in the grave, but it was more taught about annihilation, and it wasn't until around the 1st century, 2nd century CE that it became a kind of a hellscape. But even in modern day Judaism, there still is no such thing as hell. It is pretty much annihilation. And that was Sheol. Then Gehenna is a place that is outside of the walls of Jerusalem where trash and vagrancy occurs. And this is why Gehenna was thought of as this really negative place. But it's just a trash dump. And when you go to Jerusalem, they will literally you can literally go to Gehenna. You can go to hell and back. And then Paul spoke of Tartarus, which was later translated into the Greek which is mentioned in the Greek, which that would be Hades. So Hades was a Greco-Roman creation of a place where those who didn't make it to the stars or to Olympus or to the bosom of the gods literally went and served the god of the underworld, which was Hades. So it still wasn't a hell. It wasn't until your 2nd century, 3rd century CE time frame that Christian doctrine merged those three together and created this idea of hell. So hell is a place that was created. It is not a place that was ever originally instituted into the beginnings of any of these religions. And then understanding that there is no such thing as the Satan, as far as the Satan being the devil, the serpent being the devil, the Beelzebub, none of those things are the devil. Lucifer is the planet Venus, is the morning star. So therefore, when you recognize that Lucifer is not the devil, Satan, which is the adversary, which is an adversarial position, is a title in the same way Christ is a title or Messiah is a title, you can intellectually understand how these beings were merged together to create an idea of some being who was supposed to inhabit hell. But even when you look at Revelations and it talks about the beast and all these and his minions and his false prophet going into the lake of fire, they are cast into a lake of fire. It says nothing about the people who don't believe in this deity being cast into this lake of fire. So therefore, there's absolutely nothing that teaches you that you will go and be in this hellscape for the rest of your life. So therefore, there's no such thing as hell intellectually. But because we've been indoctrinated into it emotionally as well, we then have to begin to, once we come to the realization of the intellect, we have to now work on our emotions, and that's that fear. And the fear of hell is very deep-seated in people, and the way that you will begin to operate outside of that fear is to get over that fear by recognizing hell then becomes a state of mind, a state of being. So we can start to demonstrate that in our life today as to whether or not you are in hell or you are in heaven. Remember, you are also indoctrinated into believing that the kingdom of God was at hand. The kingdom of God is right now. So if the kingdom of God is at hand, the kingdom of God is right now, then the kingdom of God is in your matter form reality. And when you understand that, you must understand also that the complete opposite has to be right now. That if heaven is right now, if the kingdom of God is right now, then the kingdom of hell is right now. So what does that mean? It means that it's an emotional, mental state that you deal with on a daily basis. One of the ways that helped me to get over this idea emotionally was to recognize that my current life can be heaven or hell. So I began to do everything within my mental and physical abilities to vibrate more towards a heaven right now, a heaven in my life right now. So I started removing people out of my life who presented themselves and made my life hell. I began to remove situations out of my life that made my life hell. I fixed my finances, I fixed my health, and by fixing my finances and my health and changing the relationships around me, my life began to demonstrate more heaven than hell. Sure, issues and problems and mistakes were still made in life, but as I recognized more and more that those things happen because of the law of cause and effect, not so much because of karma or the fact that I don't believe in this deity. When a business didn't work out as well as I wanted it to work out, I can look back and see what mistakes I made that caused it, or what happened in the economy that caused it. When relationships didn't work out, I looked at what caused those relationships to not work out. If people decided that because I stopped being a Christian that they didn't want to be in a relationship with me, or they decided that they were going to be negative towards me because I walked away from this religion, I began to recognize that that's their problem, not mine. And although I may have loved those people, I was not going to internalize it to make it a part of my being. So one of my best friends at the time frame, he could not deal with me because I decided to walk away from that religion. So therefore that relationship was lost. Was it my fault? Should I internalize it? Should I make it a part of my being? Absolutely not. Did I grieve the loss for a little bit? Of course I did. But did I maintain that grief? No, I worked through it and recognized that that was his problem, not my problem. Some of my female friends who walked away from that was their problem. I didn't have to deal with family members walking away from me because I didn't have that. But if you have family members that walk away from you, that's their problem, not your problem. So I didn't internalize it. I didn't emotionalize it. So I began to realize that heaven and hell are things that I allow to be a part of me. And so over years of practicing that through meditation and through right thinking and critical thinking, I was able to remove my emotions from the picture. And the more and more I remove my emotions from the picture, the less and less that fear would come about. And so I began to overcome the fear that had been placed in me since my youth, and not fall emotionally into the time frames of, am I making the right decision? What if I'm wrong? All these sorts of things. So my intellect began to overtake my emotional state. And by doing that, I was able to release that fear. Once the fear was gone and my intellect superseded it tremendously, then I never had any more anxieties about heaven or hell. I never had that fear again about going to hell when I die. And then there is the mental understanding of the afterlife. No one at no time has ever proven that an afterlife exists. We can estimate that there may be something because we know that energy does not die, that it just transmutes from one thing to another, but no one has any proof of a true afterlife, whether good or bad, or even if you manifest your own afterlife based on what your core beliefs are. Those are theories. And most of my theories on the afterlife are based on the Hermetic alchemical thought process that as we manifest heavens and hell in this life, and we manifest it in our dreams, we manifest it in our meditations, that when we pass on and that DMT is released into our brains, then whatever our deepest thoughts are, we will manifest that as our next life, which is still merely a theory, and there's no proof of it, and nor can anybody ever prove it. But it is more logical than any other thought process. So that's just basic 101. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.